All right, hello, welcome to the 11th podcast. Today I'm joined by Max. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Max Lopez. I'm a junior here at Berkeley, studying economics with a minor in public policy. I've known Sam here since he joined through LBSA. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So we're going to dive a little bit into how you built community at college and what you did in high school to prepare yourself for college. Let's start off with high school. So, what are some experiences that you've had that you think help set you apart when applying?
Yeah, I think first things first, it's good to mention some context here. So I did go to a all guys private high school, Catholic private high school in the middle of East LA. So that was a big, not an experience I think that many people share, and I think it's important to mention. But I think the things I did there that really set me apart was just being a part of a lot of clubs, and really putting myself out there.
Mm.
As a freshman or sophomore, I did not want to do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to join ASB. I didn't want to. I just want to stick with sports, right?
Mm.
Because who doesn't, right? It's fun, it's exciting. But my mom pushed me, and she said like, do ASB, like, you want to go to Berkeley, right? So do these things. And by the end of my senior year, I was like the president of two clubs. I was on the executive board of three other clubs, and I actually enjoyed it. It made my college experience, my high school experience, because I made a lot of good friendships there that I wouldn't have originally made. So I
Mm.
think just putting yourself out there, and of course the good grades are kind of the bare minimum at this point, right? But I think that just putting myself out there as a person and getting out of my comfort zone were the biggest things.
Awesome. So you kind of touched upon how your mom was like encouraging you to apply to Berkeley. So was Berkeley something that you already had your sights on since the beginning of high school?
Yeah. I have my dad went to Berkeley.
Mm.
He graduated in 92, I think, from Haas.
Mm.
And ever since then, you kind of, when you're a kid, you idolize your dad. But not only that, we'd come up and visit the Bay. My parents lived in the Bay in Walnut Creek for a year or two, and so they loved it. And so every summer, we'd come up and we'd visit. And so there's pictures of me when I'm like, sure, like 4 or 5, and I'm in a full decked out in Berkeley gear,
Mm.
and I was just sitting in front of Sathergate. So like as a kid, it was just like, oh, like I want to go to Berkeley, right?
Mm.
Funny enough, I almost didn't come when it came to decision time,
Mm.
but I always knew that I wanted to get here, like as a little kid. So it
Mm.
seemed like kind of destined for me.
Awesome. And so how'd you know that business was what you were passionate about?
So for the longest time, when I was a kid, I was one of the kids saying like when they'd ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?"
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, "I have no idea." Right? You know how some, like, even how some kids have like, "Oh, I want to be like a firefighter or something." I had genuinely no idea. I wouldn't even say the fun ones like astronaut or veterinarian or anything. I
Mm.
was like, I don't know, like I'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And so in high school, I started to realize, like, okay, it's time I start figuring this out. I'm
Mm.
gonna go to college soon. And I realized that my favorite part of school was not like the technical things, but like the relationships I was able to build.
Mm.
And so I asked my dad, who is in business, he's been in banking for a long time now. I was like, what do you use on the day to day? He's like, I don't use any of the technical stuff I learned, right?
Mm.
It's just like the building relationships. And that's when I realized, like, I'm more of an extroverted person. Maybe this is something I want to look into, right? There's a lot of different areas of business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to find my niche and I'm going to go into it because I like talking to people.
Right.
And I think that component is what carried me into business.
Mm. So then, how does that translate towards like professional aspirations? Like, what sort of departments in business do you want to get
Yeah.
into?
So just recently, I figured out, I think the end of my freshman year, I figured out I want to get into consulting,
Mm.
strategy consulting specifically, for two main reasons. First one is I like problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps it exciting for me. It's kind of like a puzzle, even though I never really like puzzles. It's just, like you're given a situation, you say like, how do we get there? And so
Yeah.
you're allowed to do all of this like creative thinking to get there.
Mm.
And the second reason is because I get bored really quickly. And the
Mm.
thing with consulting is you're on an engagement for as short as a couple weeks to as long as like maybe a year. But
Mm.
that's it. Then you move on to something new, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm still figuring out what like niche of consulting I want to get into, whether it's healthcare consulting, whether it's tech consulting, or just purely like strategy consulting.
Mm.
But those two main reasons is why I want to go into consulting as a whole.
Mm. Amazing. And so Berkeley is sort of known for having a consulting club culture. So do you think you were influenced by that by since coming here?
I think I definitely my consulting club. I am in one. I joined my second semester, freshman year.
Mm.
It definitely helped me figure out I want to do consulting,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I was peer pressured into this thought process of consulting,
Mm.
or at least I like to think that, simply because I didn't join automatically. Like I didn't even apply to consulting clubs my first semester.
Mm.
The only club I joined was LBSA,
Mm-hmm.
and through that I met a lot of people, and I met my mentor Rafa, and he was in a consulting club, and he was like really confused on me not wanting, like not knowing what I wanted to do. So he was like asking questions. He's like, you should just try consulting clubs. Like worst case scenario, you can cross it off the list. So I went into it not thinking like, oh, like everyone is doing this, like I have to do well. I went into it thinking like, oh, let's learn something new and let's see if I like it.
Mm.
So it definitely helped me understand the world of consulting and pushed me into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that was the only reason why. I think it was just an opportunity for me to figure it out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So you touched upon LBSA, and for people who don't know, what like is that organization?
Yeah, LBSA is the Latinx Business Student Association. It is it's the biggest affinity group on campus, and our purpose is to connect the Latino population to the business world, because we as Latinos are playing catch up a lot of the time, and we
Mm.
want to give the same amount of opportunities as everyone else.
Mm. And so, sort of touching upon community and trying to find community, was this club important when you're like from your transition from high school to college?
Definitely for so many different reasons, but I've met my closest friends here, and I've also, um, I grew up in a very white area,
Mm.
and so this has brought me a lot closer to my culture,
Mm.
whether it's like the music or I'm almost haven't I don't speak the language yet, but I'm getting there. I'm almost there. But I mean I'm traveling abroad to Spain next semester with people I've met from LBSA,
Mm.
and it's definitely just gave me a sense of community, because it was funny. I was telling my parents like the first couple weeks on campus, like I don't see Latinos everywhere,
Mm.
but and I was like, I guess there's no Latinos here at Berkeley. But then at LBSA, it's like, damn, there's so many people who look like me in this area who
Mm.
have the same aspirations. So it has definitely built that community for me on campus.
Awesome. How's it like being in a consulting club?
Consulting club, it's good. I will not lie. It was a little difficult at first,
Mhm.
because when I joined the consulting club, I was one of two Latinos in the club.
Mm.
The rest of the club had a makeup of primarily Asian and Indian,
Mm.
and white, and I think that's
Mm.
pretty standard for consulting clubs here.
Mhm.
And so I was also very shy my freshman year. So I
Mm.
felt like I was um, out of my league, because
Mhm.
everyone here is a hard worker, and they have really good job placements, and they
Mm.
all have like high GPAs, and I was like, I think they let me in by accident. Like I don't know if I belong here. Like am I just a like here because I add color? And
Mm.
I thought that for a while, and it was a hard time for me trying to connect with everyone in the club.
Mm.
It didn't take me until my second semester in the club actually to really feel like I was a part of it,
Mhm.
and I'm glad I went through that and like kind of put myself out there, because a lot of these people in my consulting club are my really good friends. Like I do a lot of things with them outside of consulting. I would consider myself a very core member of this club now. I mean, I'm a project manager. I'm running a project now,
Mm.
and I've taken up leadership positions in the club,
Mhm.
and it has honestly, some of my favorite experiences of college
Mhm.
have come from this consulting club. So I'm glad that I was able to. I didn't quit too easily when it was
Mm.
got a little hard, and I didn't know if it was the right place for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's definitely helped me a lot in terms of, I mean, in every single sense. The community I have here, the career I want to pursue, and anything like that.
Mm. Would you say that the projects that you work on in the consulting clubs translate to professionally?
I would say they do, in terms of the work ethic that it creates,
Mm.
and the kind of research that we do.
Mm.
So I have worked on Uber, Audi, and Uber again, and now I'm working with HyperX, the gaming company.
Mm.
And so I've done a variety of different things, coming like looking at car insurance. I know a lot about that now. Identity verification, price elasticity, like a lot of niche things that you wouldn't expect with these companies.
Mhm.
And the ability to research and present and convey my ideas is
Mm.
something that has been instrumental in the workplace. I have had internships this past summer and the summer before, and I've used those skills I've picked up there in those spaces, and people always are impressed that as a college student I know how to do this already. And so
Mm.
it's really given me an upper hand, and I think that's one of the positives of Berkeley.
Mm. And so during the application process for these internships, what are some things that you emphasize like on your resume or like in your application that you think helped stand out?
For internships, you
Yeah.
mentioned. I feel like a lot of students have like the good GPA. They
Mm.
have the clubs that they're part of on campus. But I think my emphasis on LBSA has helped me a little bit because for context, I was the internal vice president last year, and I'm currently the director of professional development. And so my want to genuinely give back and help out to my own community, I
Mm.
think is what kind of sets me apart. Because, I mean, it's so easy to say, like, oh, I'm in a consulting club, like, I know how to do everything. But at the end of the day, are you someone they want to work with, right? Yes, a
Mm.
lot of people can do the work, but do they want to work with you, right?
Mm.
So I think that is what really sets me apart in terms of my resume. Like, when you look at that, I think my emphasis on that and what I talk about there.
Mm.
Um, but also, if you want to get technical, I think my little interest section is pretty funny. I try to give an insight into who I am as a person,
Mm.
and I think little things like that are what's gonna help you in the application process. And I think just being personable in the actual interview, I think, is
Mm.
the most important part. I always try to like make jokes or try to relate to them on something,
Yeah.
and because at the end of the day, we're human, and
Yeah.
so I try to treat them like such. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And so, what does the day to day look like? Like for any, if you want to like talk about any specific internship of what you did during that time.
Yeah, I can talk about my past internship this past summer. It was with EY Parthenon in LA. It was a rotational internship, but I'll talk about the rotation that I liked more.
Mm.
It was in mergers and acquisitions and just due diligence. Pretty much what we would do is like, okay, it's kind of hard to explain. So pretty much when you know how when you buy a house, you
Mm.
have a realtor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you sell a house, you have a realtor, and the realtors kind of communicate with each other on behalf of you.
Yeah.
So when companies sell themselves or when companies buy another company,
Mm-hmm.
they also have realtors, except they're teams that um, they outsource these teams to kind of be the realtors. And so what we would do is we would essentially um, help bigger companies with M&A situations, and we would value a company and then we give them consulting advice on like if you should buy them, if you should carve out some of this company and only buy some of it. And so like the best example I have is the recent merger between Paramount and Skydance Media. You guys may know about it. It's the one that talk show host got canceled because of that merger.
Mm.
So it was in the news a little bit. But I helped with that as an intern, and pretty much a lot of the day to day, a lot of it is in Excel. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna
Mm.
be like creating pivot tables, using XLOOKUP, and essentially looking at a lot of. It had an accounting part of it, like looking at all the numbers and valuing a company,
Mm.
saying like this is their sales for this quarter, this is their revenue, this is their cost, right? But then what does it mean? Like looking between the numbers, and that was the part I enjoyed because we'd look in between the numbers and then we'd meet with the client and be
Mm.
like, this is what we think you should do based on this. So that's kind of what the day to day looked like. It was a lot of Excel, and then it was a lot of just meeting with people and like trying to figure out the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite parts was like we figure out like where is this number coming from, and you'd go through like it's gonna sound kind of dumb, but we trace through like 8 different Excel sheets, and it was like such a cool like puzzle. Like me and like 3 other people, and we're just looking through everything and trying to find it, and like that sense of accomplishment when you figure it out. Like oh this $4 million like excess comes from this like open litigation which stems from this. Like it was so interesting and fun, and it sounds so kind of nerdy when you say that,
Mm.
but that was what the day to day looked like for
Awesome.
them.
And so, do you think the connections that you made at that internship, are you're still like cultivating them, like, and do you think that it could like lead into something in the future?
I definitely hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried my best to kind of continue on these relationships.
Mm-hmm.
In this internship, we were given like a counselor, which is just like someone who's higher up, and we meet with them. And you're
Mm-hmm.
also like you are attached to, and you're just kind of like helping out, doing like the busy work of a lot of people who've been there 1 or 2 years, right? And so some of them I got really close to, and because I'm going back next summer,
Oh, awesome.
um, I'm going back into a different office. I'm going to the New York office, which is good and bad because I all those connections I made I won't see,
Mm.
right? But some of them I still like email here and there, and I try to connect people here at Berkeley with them and kind of use my network for, or try to help out using my network.
Mm.
Um, Funny enough, one of the guys that I got close to, he's been there for 2 years. He is a full time employee. Like I follow him on Instagram, and he sends me reels every once in a while. So I don't know how unprofessional that is or that's allowed, but he's a chill guy. So I think like connections like that
Mm,
are the ones that I'm gonna try to continue and nurture, I guess, to see
mm.
if anything comes about from that. But at the end of the day, it's also just fun to meet people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How do you balance so many extracurriculars and classes and all that?
not well, but yeah. So Google Calendar is like actually my savior. Everything is on my Google Calendar, but
Mm,
it's just like prioritizing stuff at the end of the day and a lot of late nights. But the biggest thing I learned is spending a lot of time on the right things because there's gonna be
mm,
some things that it's like yes, your checklist may be really long, but some of the things are not that important. It's gonna be like, oh, like that's quick, that's short. Like, oh, ChatGPT can help me write this email. Why do that, right? But the important stuff that is really gonna affect other people or other people are relying on you for, that's the stuff you have to prioritize because at the end of the day, you're not gonna be able to do everything, and some things are gonna slip through. It rather be the unimportant things slip through than the important ones, right?
mm,
So I think just prioritizing stuff and scheduling everything out has really helped me. Especially with like I'm gonna prioritize I will be a say like if I have a workshop, if I'm running the workshop, I'm gonna prioritize that opposed to maybe I miss a workshop that someone else holds because I'm not like presenting there, so maybe I can put that time to prepare for the one I'm presenting because it's more important that I'm there for that one than just being someone who's like watching in the crowd at another one, right?
mm-hmm.
So I think that's really what helped me the most.
Do you take the time to sort of nurture your own mental health?
Yeah, that's actually been a big thing that I had to focus on. I'll be very transparent. My freshman spring and sophomore fall were pretty difficult on me mentally for a lot of different reasons, being like um, outside of school and within school. Um, I think I learned a lot about myself with different like relationships and friendships, and school was a big stressor.
Mm,
I had just it was when everything got I got a full plate, and so
mm,
I crumbled under the pressure. I like really struggled, and it was to the point where I was just like so stressed.
mm,
And so one thing that helped was just like signing up for online therapy, just talking to people. But over time, what I realized is like, yeah, that's kind of helpful. But it takes a lot of time.
mm,
The thing that really helped me the most has been falling back on what I know best, and that's like sports. And I know it's gonna sound kind of dumb, but one thing that I have in my calendar that I will always do is I will work out every day because it's a time for me to clear my head. Whether it's I go on a quick 30-minute run at 11:30 at night, or I set apart time to go to the gym for like an hour or two. It's
mm,
just good for me to like feel good about myself, to um, feel like I'm working towards something that I enjoy, but
mm.
also to just genuinely like clear my head, right? Um, I think that's like the most important, just like in that sense, like falling back on what I already know. Um, yeah, I've also just like sleep and drinking a lot of water. That's like it really has helped my overall mental health. I think it sounds kind of dumb, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's definitely something that people sort of forget when in the day to day, and so it's awesome that you set aside a time to take care of that. So do you think that like with all the things that you're doing and then taking care of your mental health, are there any times to cultivate any hobbies?
Yeah, it's there are times, but you have to be very selective. I
Mm.
think for me, I don't have a particular like hobby. My hobby is like um, kind of goes hand in hand with what I do for my mental health, like running and going to the gym, and
Mm.
that kind of checks off both boxes. Like there are times like I just recently committed to running the Berkeley Half Marathon
Oh,
in a
awesome!
month.
Kevin was talking about that. He's also doing
I'm running it with Kevin, yeah.
it.
So a couple people from LBSA exec board are gonna do it, and so that is like a hobby of mine. So I'm setting apart a little bit more time for like training because running I'm gonna be doing like long runs or stuff like that, right?
Mm.
So it is kind of going hand in hand with that, but also like I think for me my biggest hobby is like hanging out with people,
Mm-hmm.
doing different things, and so I had a social with my professional development committee yesterday, and it's just like setting time for those like at least once or twice a week to be around people, whether
Mm.
even if it's like studying with people. It definitely have to find a balance. I think last semester I put too much emphasis on that and my grades kind of suffered a little bit.
Mm.
So it's like you have to know you have to do it a healthy amount.
Mm.
But I definitely think setting apart time for those hobbies is is as important to your mental health as anything else.
Can we talk a little bit more about going abroad? And so, how are you preparing for that? Are you like learning a little more Spanish or?
Yeah, I am learning a little more. I get a lot of I get a tough time about that from like my parents. They speak Spanish, from friends, especially in LBSA.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm one of like two or three people on this 14 people exec board that does not speak Spanish. So that's something. My Duolingo streak is going strong right now. But I'm also listening to like, because of obviously like a lot more Spanish music in
Mm.
general. Um, but there's a lot of things I need to do in preparation for going abroad. Like I don't know if where I'm gonna live yet. I know with who, but I don't know where.
Yeah.
Logistical things I still need to figure out.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to plan out like what are the things I want to see. I've never traveled outside of the country before,
Mm.
never even to Mexico. So it's gonna be very exciting. Like I had to get a passport to then give it to get my visa. Like that was the first time I ever had a passport, and so like planning out different trips that I have just like saved on TikTok that are actually gonna come to be.
Yeah.
Like Amsterdam, where Ireland, Portugal, where else are we going? London, Morocco. So it's like a lot of places like that I'm just preparing for. I'm not gonna lie, I'm already getting like pre FOMO. Like I know I'm gonna be missing out here, and I think the biggest thing for me is because I mentioned like I'm big on like the relationships I build with people.
Yeah.
A lot of the seniors. This is
Oh.
I only have 8 more weeks with them, and then they're done. Like I go away for their last semester. I think that's gonna be a tough pill to swallow. And sure, I'll see some of them in New York in the summer, but like some of these people I may never see again.
Mm.
And I'm just trying to build up those relationships now to hopefully extend them. So that's what I'm kind of doing in preparation for what I'm leaving. I think is the
Mm.
biggest thing. But I mean, I'm excited. I think you'll never really get an opportunity to live in another country for 5 months, unless you just become unemployed later on in life. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
Mm. Amazing. And then this kind of ties into sort of finding yourself in college. A lot of people on the podcast said that they kind of came in with a certain mindset, and then as they sort of started discovering themselves, they grew into like a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is that something that happened like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a completely different person than I
Mm.
was, even from my freshman year, but let alone like high school.
Mm.
I mean, I looked different. I had a comb over too. It was bad. But I think my mindset on things has changed a lot. I think coming out of high school, I was still trying to figure out who I was as a person.
Mm.
I was like, I know this may be true for a lot of people at Berkeley, but I was like a nerd in high school. I would keep to myself, just do work, and go for runs. I was like my personality. Like I didn't even, I wasn't confident in myself to to do many things. I didn't have
Mm.
enough confidence in myself to do that. And I realized like coming here to college is a chance to reinvent yourself. No one knows who you are,
Mm.
so just fake it till you make it. I think, and it's kind of like the corny advice you hear all the time,
Mm.
but it works. Like no one knows at the end of the day if what you're saying is true or not. I'm not saying just go around lie, but I'm saying if you come into the room and you just fake it, you like act so charismatic. No one knows if that's actually you or not when you come to college, right? And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden it does become you. You kind of get to reinvent yourself and try to grow as a person, grow into who you want to be.
Mm.
And the only way you can grow into who you want to be is by being uncomfortable as hell in some situations, right?
Mm.
And that still happens to me all the time, right? Like you ever get those you're walking past someone that you know and like you just like kind of blank out on what to say,
Yeah.
and then like you're walking away from each other but you're still talking. Like those little interactions, like I want to get better at those. So I've tried to get like a conscious effort to get better at those.
Yeah.
I also just want to be more of a outgoing person. So if I'm stuck, like if I'm in an elevator with someone I don't know, maybe I just, oh man, I like your shoes, or I like this, right? And so like this mindset of just talking to people
Mhm.
and trying to be the best version of myself is something that completely changed in college. I think also like academically speaking, like having more of a grind mindset is something I've tried to have for myself, because it's tough. It's a lot harder than high school. So I think those, like both as a person but academically speaking, is what I've tried to do.
Awesome. So then, for people that are sort of in the process of building up their confidence, those little interactions are
Mhm.
are definitely like what useful, helpful, and
Yeah, I think those are the biggest ones. I mean, like just those small interactions with people when you meet someone new, like they're the ones that can really help out. I think back to some of my there's a couple of friends I have in my consulting club. And I'll be say like I think you know those people that are just like super like cares. They seem to know everyone, right?
Mm.
And so I would really just like watch them be like, how do they do it? Like
Yeah.
genuinely, or I'd ask him like, yo, like how do you know this many people? He's like, man, I don't know. You just like kind of talk to him.
Yeah.
And so that's what I just started doing. I just started talking to people. I think like if you want to build your confidence, like you can't like practice. Like that's the only way. Like you can't like there's no set method. It's just see what works and see what doesn't, and just also you have to be okay being embarrassed. I think like
Mm.
people aren't gonna remember what like the only person that's gonna remember is like you.
Mm.
Like yes, sure, some if you really like if you fall flat on your face, someone may remember it. But if you just like accidentally mess up a word or you say like I don't know something awkward, it's gonna be gone from their mind in maybe 10 minutes,
Yeah.
probably less. Or just like realize that the worst is really not that bad in a lot of situations.
Mm.
That's what kind of helped me, that mindset. And also, it's never that deep. Like it's also never that important is what really helped me. Like it doesn't really matter.
My last question to you is, what would you tell like a younger version of yourself if they were watching this? A piece of advice.
Um I see I don't want to be like the corner like everyone else like oh enjoy it like as much as I want to say that. Um I would say I think one thing I struggled with for a long time and I still do is like trying to figure out what's worth it.
Mm.
I think and like oh I want to have all this fun now, but I think I'm coming to the realization that I still have a lot of life ahead of me, and especially to the younger version of myself, you have a lot of life ahead of you. So are you willing to kind of grind and put your head down for a couple years to enjoy so many years after that? Like you have to figure out what's worth it. Like yes, there's not any other times you're gonna be 20, right, or 19, and in college and so carefree, but also you want to put a lot of work in and a lot of like do everything that you can because you don't want to be 10 years down the line still having to work your ass off because you didn't do it now and still
Mm.
regretting things that you didn't do. So
Mm.
just kind of think about it like that. Like are you willing to give up 2 years now to enjoy the next 20 years, or are you willing to experience these 2 years and not do any work and then have to work for the next 20 years? I think is the
Mm.
thing I would say. Like really realize how much opportunity you have as a young person, and how many things that we understand that older people don't. Like the fact that we know technology so much better than like some like executives at high up companies. Like utilize that. Like in your free time, learn how to really harness the power of AI. Like do stupid things like that, or that seem stupid now because at the in the end of the day, they're gonna help you so much more in the long run. And I
Mm.
think like give up time now, so that you can be like old and rich and retire early and then just do whatever you want. I think is that mindset I'm starting to have.
Mm.
So I think that's it's not like a specific like set of advice, but kind of like a mindset that or something that someone my younger self should consider because I messed around a lot in high school or even up until like yesterday. Like it's just like things that um, you have to realize like what's worth it.
Mm.
I think I was kind of all over the place there, but that is kind of what I would say.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess kind of like before we end it, kind of like tying on that string. Someone was talking about how once they graduate from college and then they move on to the professional life, they're excited to see who they are outside of their job, and so I think that's sort of something that's kind of interesting because like you're grinding so that people could go and get a job, but then like once you know don't need that job anymore, once you retire, like who are you outside of that job sort of, and so do you like, and then that also ties into the idea that some people lose like the big picture sort of, like when they're younger, they have more time to think about like the big picture, and then in college they start getting more distracted by the day to day, and so kind of tying into you, like do you think you still haven't like lost grasp of like the big picture, like in like the like monotony of like everyday life?
I think, wow, that's a good question. I think that I haven't lost sight of the big picture yet. I think one thing is I try to shake off the um, monotonous feeling that, like you mentioned, that every day can have. And I think, wow, that is a really good point. It's to bring up a lot of good points there. Yeah, I feel like I think in terms of the bigger picture a lot. Wait, repeat the second part of your question.
Mm.
Or I can answer the first part really quick on the who we are outside of our work, right? When we
Yeah.
get there, and I think that's you don't live to work, but you work to live, right? So
Mm.
we do this work. It's not your identity. You do something that you enjoy because you have to do it,
Mm.
but then you have things outside of it that you can. You're not working till like 8 or 9 p.m. You can get off at 4 or 5 p.m. and then you can go with your friends. You can go, and I think the biggest thing is you should be okay being alone. Like you don't have to hang out with people all the time.
Mm.
So like you can go to the gym. You can, go for a walk. You can like have hobbies that are who you are. You can like whether it's putting time into yourself or putting time into things around you, like cultivating like a nice apartment or like an environment in which you like or relationships that you like or hobbies that you like. That's the reason we work to essentially sponsor those activities, to
Mm.
travel the world if you want, right? And I think that as long as you pick a career that doesn't strip you of your humanity and
Mm.
what you like of yourself, then you'll be fine. And I also feel like the workplace is a good place to sometimes make friends and make new relationships and
Mm.
also learn skills that will help you outside of the workplace, which people may disagree with, but it helps depending on what you're doing, like your people skills or your um, I mean, yeah, I think your people skills. I don't think like my ability to do Excel is gonna help me outside of the office, but yeah. And then the second part of your question, if you could repeat that part.
Yeah. He was kind of talking about like the bigger picture and like not like losing it in like the day to day activities, like not losing that spark, sort of.
Mm. I think that's hard to speak on as someone who I'm only 20, right? Like I think my spark is still very lit right now. Like I would say I think one way you don't lose your spark, and this is gonna be pulling from what I view in my parents,
Yeah.
who I'm very close to, is your spark is never gonna be the same. You're gonna have your spark for different reasons, right? So for
Mm.
right now, it's I want to get a good career to make good money so I can do fun stuff and go travel, right? That's
Yeah.
the spark. Like the bigger picture is to be successful, to be not even successful, to live comfortably,
Yeah.
right? And I think at one point or another, I I mean, if all goes well, like I have a family, and then all of a sudden the spark is for a different reason. The spark is now to provide for my family, to help my kids grow up into. I mean, you're always gonna have pride in your kids, right? And I think like I see that in my parents. My dad works like the day and night to provide for us, but at the same time, he never would let that job um, restrict him from being a dad. He was still my coach for all like from ages 5 to like 14. He was my basketball coach.
Mm.
So he was still there present, but he would still go off and work to provide and get me the new basketball shoes, get me a basketball, stuff like that. And same thing for my mom, right? She um, didn't quit her job when she had me. She went part time, so then she could go back to full time and still pursue her career because that's part of her identity. But then to still be a mother and to still, and she did it because, she works because she works in a at a community college, and so because she's in education, she gets really good health benefits, and she does that to give it to me and my brother. So it's like I think your spark over time will change, and the bigger picture will never always be the same.
Mm.
And I think for now, as long as you always have that like something to go towards, your spark will always be there. But it won't be like 10 years down the line. I'm not gonna have the same spark I do now, right?
Mm.
And it's not to say that it's not gonna be like not there. It's going to reach something else, right? So I think yeah, that would be my best take on that as a 20-year-old. What I think is would happen, because my spark is still very much there. I think
Awesome.
yeah, it gets a little sad after midterm season, but like it's still there.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to
Yes,
hop on the
thank you for
podcast.
having me, man. This has been fun. This is exciting.
Awesome. And then see you guys in the next one.
Yes, see you guys. Hi, mom.